Men, I want you to understand that we're physically bigger, most of us. We're expected to be the protector, and when the protector turns on those they are protecting, it is terrifying for them. Emotional reactivity can lead to wrathful communication. Maybe we have some old baggage we need to let go of, but it's that baggage that makes us super sensitive, right? Like it's like having, when you first get a splinter, it seems like such a small thing, but if you can't get it out, over months, it'll start to develop pus around it. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship, and today we're going to continue our series on From Wrath to Ruin, Old Testament tactics for basically destroying your marriage. And why Old Testament? Because these traits that we're talking on have been going on for generations, going back to when we first crawled out of the mud, or when Adam and Eve was made. Whatever story you're buying into, it doesn't matter. This stuff's been going on a long time. And while we talked about in the first episode about being dominant, power dynamics in the marriage, and in the second episode we talked about being overly emotional or flooding someone with feelings, today we're going to talk about a specific kind of feeling. It's wrathful rage. Wrathful responses is what we're going to talk about. And I've been illustrating these points with a story, so let's stick with the format because it really works so well. As usual, any resemblance to real persons is completely accidental, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Are you ready for this? In a charming town, nestled among rolling hills and towering trees, there lived a couple named, guess, Jack and Emily. Yes, they're back for third week in a row. They're back. They had been together for several years. Their love for each other was evident to all who knew them. However, they harbored a secret struggle that threatened the very foundation of their relationship, the destructive impact of wrathful communication. Jack had grown up in a family where conflicts were resolved with raised voices and heated arguments. You know the kind of family I'm talking about. They're just going off all the time. He had unknowingly adopted this aggressive approach to communication, believing it to be the only effective way to assert his point of view. Actually, it's what he grew up with. I mean, why would he think otherwise? When disagreements arose between him and Emily, he would often unleash a torrent of wrathful words, raging, insane, angry words, top of his voice, call the police kind of stuff. But luckily, they didn't live too close to their neighbors, so nobody did. Or maybe unluckily. Emily, on the other hand, had been raised in a more gentle and nurturing environment. She was unaccustomed to such heated confrontations and would retreat into silence when faced with Jack's aggressive communication. She longed for an open and honest dialogue, but felt paralyzed by fear and the sting of Jack's wrathful words. And men, I want you to understand that we're physically bigger, most of us. We're expected to be the protector, and when the protector turns on those they are protecting, it is terrifying for them, even when it's verbal. When we present our partners with emotional violence, it is frightening for them, and it literally erodes the foundation of the relationship. As time went by, the space between them grew deeper and deeper, and as each argument left a trail of hurt feelings and unresolved issues, they grew further and further apart. Their once open and loving communication had become a battleground where each conversation was fraught with tension and fear of another explosion. Without a safe haven for her feelings, Emily turned elsewhere. And folks, I want to be really clear. This is not Emily's fault. It's not really Jack's fault. Jack didn't know better. Emily didn't know what to do. She had needs that were not being fulfilled, and Jack was not fulfilling them. There was a guy at work who understood. It started as talks at the water cooler and turned into texting where Emily finally felt safe, and she felt she was being nurtured and cared for. She didn't think anything of it, because after all, she wasn't sleeping with the guy. Not yet. Jack knew something wasn't right. Emily just wasn't present anymore. Yeah, it was true they were fighting less, but they were talking less. In fact, she seemed happier and absent at the same time, and that got Jack wondering. One day, a text came in while she was in the bathroom. Her phone was on the kitchen table right next to Jack. He saw it was from a man, and he did not like what he read. He confronted Emily loudly, and the familiar dynamic played out, him accusing her. But this time, Emily defended herself, and she said, "I've not been sleeping with anyone, but Tom is the first man that I felt safe with in a long time. Maybe I should." She stormed out, went to her mother's house, and Jack got really scared. This was the poke that finally got Jack's attention. Emily had been poking him in a lot of ways, but this is the one that finally got his attention. He saw an ad for the Unbreakable Husband program and checked it out. Determined to salvage their love, Jack committed to learning new communication strategies that fostered understanding and empathy rather than anger and retaliation. He practiced active listening, assertiveness, and using I statements to express his feelings and concerns without attacking or blaming Emily. He found other places to take his anger and rage. He went to an anger management class. He talked to other guys about it, but mostly he leaned into the Unbreakable program, where he was given the tools to finally rewire his triggers, those triggers that were implanted in him in his childhood, in his very vocal, loud, audacious family. As he implanted these new communication techniques, he noticed a profound shift in their relationship. Their conversations, once filled with anger and resentment, now became opportunities for growth, understanding, and healing. Emily started following his lead, and as she once again began to feel safe, she leaned into their relationship. She stopped texting Tom. Together, they learned to approach disagreements with an open heart and foster a newfound sense of trust and safety within their relationship. Jack's journey toward healthier communication was not without its challenges, but his unwavering commitment to his family, combined with their now re-blossoming love, provided the motivation they needed to persevere. Over time, they rediscovered the joy of being open and having honest dialogue, free from the destructive influence of wrathful responses. Hand in hand, Jack and Emily forged a new path forward, built upon a foundation of empathy, understanding, and love. They had triumphed over the perils of wrathful communication and emerged stronger, more connected, and more in love than ever before. Together, they faced the future with renewed hope and confidence, knowing that they had the tools to weather any storm life might bring their way. And they went on to the Create Your Soulmate program and learned to build an even better and stronger relationship. So let's talk about what happened there, all right? And forgive my shameless plugs for our programs, but we have programs that work. Our programs are 95% successful, and it would be wrong for me to not offer them to people. I have been so blessed in my marriage by the gifts, the tools that these programs are founded on, that I would be doing a disservice to myself, to my God, and to you if I didn't offer them. So that's what this is about. All right, so let's talk about the destructive impact of aggressive or vengeful communication. All right, because this is what really stops cold, open, and honest dialogue. We can't have open and honest dialogue when one or both of us is being aggressive or vengeful. Wrathful communication includes aggressive, hostile, or vengeful responses. So that's, as I said, on the extreme end, something that's like emotional violence. It's yelling and screaming with such intensity that the other person is literally quaking, afraid that maybe it might become physical. But it can also be as simple as snarky remarks. You know, how many couples have slipped into a pattern of making sarcastic and snarky remarks to each other? It's all the same emotion, just on different levels. Emotional reactivity can lead to wrathful communication. So what that means is, first of all, when we come from a place of wrathful communication, of snarkiness or emotional violence or anything in between, it's usually because we're super sensitive and on some level we're feeling hurt or sad, or maybe there's unresolved pain or triggers that we need cleared up, right? The steps to moving forward are release old baggage, create a strategy, take action, and adjust your strategy as you move forward in life. Those are the four basics of making change. Maybe we have some old baggage we need to let go of. But it's that baggage that makes us super sensitive, right? Like it's like having, when you first get a splinter, it seems like such a small thing, but if you can't get it out, over months, it'll start to develop pus around it, and you'll start avoiding that area where that splinter is. You'll start avoiding touching it, and eventually you'll be poking it and prodding it and have to get it to clean it out, right? And it'll take some work. So old emotions are very much like this. We need to release the pus and get the splinter out so that we can heal. The impact on conflict resolution is that when we're in an angry or a wrathful place, there is no real conflict resolution, right? Basically, when we're in this space, we're in the space of I'm going to win and you're going to lose. And what that means is even if you surrender, I'm still going to kill you, right? Not literally, but emotionally. And I've had couples in my working together in my space where one of them is really going and the other one says, you're right. And the one who's really going off says, of course I'm right. And let me make another point. And I have to pause him and say, wait a minute. Did you hear what he said? He said, you're right. Yeah, I know I'm right. And no, listen, you really need to hear, right? He's trying to change the energy of this conversation. Can you take it in? And it takes them a while to reset and really take it in. When we're in that space, our amygdala is engaged, the part of our brain that does fight, flight, or play dead. It's irrational. We're chemically energized. It's very hard to come off that ledge. Basically, it creates a pattern of defensive communication. Not only are we on the attack, but the best defense is what? A good offense. And where there's no vulnerability, there's no open and honest dialogue. And then what happens is both people feel like they're losing, no matter what. The arguments don't end. Even if one is quiet, like Emily was, she'll start taking vengeance in quiet ways, in passive-aggressive ways. Or maybe she'll just get fed up and start going all out with Jack. But there's always a cycle of retaliation when we feel that we're wronged and we haven't gone to a space where we can experience the wrong, forgive the other person, and go back to vulnerability. The only option is retaliation and revenge, right? And there can be no loving relationship in that space. Loving relationships occur in the space of vulnerability, and vulnerability can only occur when we understand why they do what they do and forgive them for it, because we have that in us as well and understand it. It can disconnect us emotionally. We withdraw. So Emily didn't start her emotional affair with Tom at work until she just started to withdraw completely. Jack noticed she was withdrawn, and she was like happier, and that scared him, right? Withdrawing is the only option. It's either engage or withdraw. So if we're going to develop healthy communication skills, the first thing is we got to stop pissing in the water, is what I call it, right? We can't be dumping our negativity in the water. What do I do with that anger? You take it somewhere else. What needs to be expressed is vulnerability. And the only feelings that can be expressed in vulnerability are hurt, sadness, fear, and then on the other end, hope, vision for the future, empathy, forgiveness, and understanding. And those feelings are connected. We can't really have forgiveness and empathy without the other feelings. When we become vulnerable, when we stop with either angry, snarky remarks or outright emotional violence or anything in between, that is where the space opens that we can start to have a conversation. And the first step is learn to take timeouts. Notice when you're triggered, right? Oh my God, I've gone from 0 to 60. I love Emily. Emily, I'm really sorry. I'm feeling a little triggered right now. I'm going to take a timeout. I'll come back. We can talk about this in an hour, in a day, in a week, whatever you need to reset. But it's really important that you say, we're going to talk about this. Or if you're on the other side of this, you can say, listen, I can see that we're both triggered and we're done with this conversation right now. You're going to need to take this somewhere else. I've set a clear boundary. I won't permit this myself to have this experience of another person's anger. And that might really piss them off. And then you're going to say, all right, I'm going to go to my safe space, my room. If you have this going on, either you're feeling abused or you recognize that you are in an emotionally abusive situation as the aggressor, reach out to me. This is what I do all day long, is help people learn to communicate so that they can build resilience, love, and joy in their family so that their children are whole and complete and have healthy relationships. Reach out to me at richinrelationship.com or just simply go to the website richinrelationship.com or direct message me here. Whatever you need to do, comment, and we'll come back to you. Remember, this stuff is ancient. It's been going on for generations, and it's not your fault that you don't have the tools. It's not your fault that you don't know how to deal with it. But now you do. And now that you do know, you have a responsibility. So take the next step. The next step is learn more. Reach out and get the help you need. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.